Hey there, welcome to Spice Files. It's a series of videos where we're going to highlight the spicy brews from just various cool events that happen in the community. I'm Mike from the Beast of the Bay, and I'm joined again by DFB, the organizer of the wonderful Derby series that many of us enjoy every summer and winter. How are you doing, Dave?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. Great
Sure,
to be
of
here.
course. Awesome. Well, I mean, it's technically your event, so do you want to lead us off and kind of bring us through these decks that
Yeah, sure. No, I'm excited to. I've been going through the photos from like about 140 different decks that were submitted for the Summer Derby this year. Putting together the tournament report, which should be up at some point soon. But I. Kind of after sifting through a bunch of, lions and dibs and workshops and Hinda Thorax and that kind of stuff, a few of these decks kind of caught my eye. And rather than just kind of burying them in the tournament report, I thought it would make sense to shed some light on these brews and spotlight the guys who built the decks. So excited to do it. So you and I put our heads together and we distilled the list down to I think about 9 decks that we can walk through. And so let's jump right in.
Sure.
All right. So okay. So well, a little biased because of the New England old school playmat underneath this photo, but this is one of Connecticut's finest. Very, very spicy brewers. This is Matt Mucci's build, which he calls Tron Bond, a mashup of Urzatron and Fast Bond, I guess.
Nice, yeah.
And so he is, he's getting around probably not owning a play set of workshops and still wanting to, crank out stuff like Tetravis and obviously Clay Statue by trying to assemble Tron. And getting things going with Fastbond and Howling Mine.
Yeah, I also really like the very ambitious Colossus of Sardia hiding underneath those Fastbonds.
Oh yeah, good catch. Oh yeah.
It must be. I mean, I can't technically read the name, but it is a 9 mana cost. So
yeah, there's only one 9 that I know of in old school. So yeah, I love this list. I think Tron is definitely something that is rarely seen in 93-94 period. Obviously, we don't have an expedition map or anything like that in the format. And obviously in the 4-strip meta, like forget it. Like you're just trying to you're grasping at straws. It's a little more conceivable, although still very, very hard to do with only one strip mine flying around. But I think I want to kind of zoom in to review a couple of these choices. I don't know what else stood out to you other than that the Colossus that was hiding behind there.
I always have to ask, about Clay Statue. I mean, it's definitely a card that I loved when I was a kid. You just don't see it very often, right? Definitely a pretty cool card.
I think it works. I mean, obviously with the Tron lands, if you can get them tapping for more than one, I think that pays for the regeneration effect really easily.
Sure.
I've heard Clay Statue getting a little bit of buzz, a little bit more notice. Maybe not in the spikiest of like workshop or robots type lists. I've definitely seen it a lot in Singleton where it's a house. But it's cool to see it getting a little bit more love here in regular constructed.
Yeah, that actually kind of makes me think that Singleton is like a good place to find some pretty spicy cards that are like they're like probably good in Singleton, but like maybe they sometimes mostly don't make the cut in normal old school.
Yep.
So like it's a good place to find those like kind of more fringy cards you can still build around, and they're still probably good enough to really play in old school.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like a proving ground for things you might not have the balls to play at a tournament, but once you like actually play it in Singleton and see how the card interacts, they might kind of surprise you.
Yeah, exactly.
Clay Statue is a good example of that kind of card. Other thing I just noticed, he has a So he has a Stream of Life.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, he's got a little cluster of X spells over there in the corner.
Yeah.
That Fireball. I'm just like looking at the printing. I'm wondering if that's. Do you think that's summer or something like? I don't know. Like,
It's hard to tell.
the high contrast.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Stream of Life has a LobsterCon stamp from last year, which the only stamped cards that we gave away, I think, other than the lobsters themselves, I think were for high placing. So this might have been like a prize for Spice
Okay.
from last year. So
Sure.
anyway, this is a sweet list. Love to see Tron. I love the idea of the fast bond engine trying to ramp out your Tron components there and maybe try to put them together a little bit more quickly, and also try and cement some resource asymmetry, because the faster you can assemble Tron, obviously, the more the easier it is to kind of crank out these fat robot threats.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Cool list.
Yeah.
All
Very
right.
cool deck.
Okay, so next up we have actually a Beast of the Bay, right? This is
this is Cliff. Yeah.
Cliff Mathewson's. He calls it Requiem for a Dream. And man, there's a lot to unpack here.
Definitely.
There are some. There's a clear resource denial thread, right? He has the sinkholes and the ice storms, the crumbles. He has a Underworld Dreams. He also has like a Mirror Ball sort of like sub package. And he also has Gate to Phyrexia as a way of, I guess, sacrificing his dorks to give him more artifact destruction effects that are, I guess, in a way repeatable, and you can throw a bird at a mox or something.
One thing I can say about Cliff is he is a man that loves Underworld Dreams in all forms. So I've seen him play full on trick deck, just your very classic Underworld Dreams deck. What we're seeing here is obviously different from that. He also will just like play it as the win condition in his control deck. Like it will be in like all places and all, and just wherever he feels like he can slide that card in. I think he's he's one to do so. So, I actually played against him in the Derby, which was nice because we got to go and play at our local bar.
Oh, cool. So you were on actual shops in the Derby, right?
Yeah, I was on a very much not spicy deck, but we still had good games. I thought it was actually pretty interesting, Gate to Phyrexia is reasonably useful against
shops for sure.
Against shops, yeah. I can't get rid of it, right? I mean, there's no way for me to get rid of it, depending on the color combination that you're in, right?
And I like his creature removal choices too. Like Paralyze, obviously, dovetails well with the resource denial strategy, right? It's hard to find the 4 mana to untap your dude if everything is getting destroyed. And then post board, he's got these super narrow but super powerful hate cards that also, follow that same theme, right? So Gloom, Energy Flux, Blood Moon. You notice he's got a bunch of, he can run Blood Moon. He's got a bunch of basic forests at least. So if he needs to bring those in, he can. He can also cast his colored spells off of the birds. And the other thing that one quick question that I had scanning this initially was like, where is the channel, man? He's got Fireball and he's got the Mirror at least, but probably not. And does he have both draw 7s? Yeah, he's got both draw 7s. Probably still not enough to justify a channel.
It's tough because there's so many colored mana spells, right? Like triple black for Dreams or double black for Sinkhole.
Yep.
But I can see the X spells. I mean, he has 7 mana dorks, right?
Exactly. And Crossroads is interesting here too. Make his dorks go a little bit faster. I think that's pretty much what it does for him, huh?
I think I remember him also saying like, the Abyss is not great for him because a lot of his mana fixing is in the mana dork. So it also gives him a way of like solving that problem a little bit.
Sure. And of course, post board, if he brings those Ernies in to transform a little bit, you know, a quick Ernemjin can really take somebody by surprise. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I do also remember him mentioning something about maybe wanting to have played Energy Flux in the main deck, which you can kind of see would probably kind of work. Like,
yeah, I think that would be fine. He's only got the on-color Moxes, obviously, but the Moxes are doing less for him than, you know, the matchups where you want Energy Flux. Obviously, it does a lot more to hurt the other player. So
right.
This is a cool list. It struck me as kind of offbeat and one was worth spotlighting for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So next on the list, this is okay. So this is Daniel Jan Franzen's Demonic Void. Daniel, of course, is part of the Stockholm in a Bottle crew.
Right.
And this is sort of, I mean, this sort of gets to like a, I don't know, kind of O'Brien school-ish type thing with the fast, fat creatures and the Nether Voids. But it's, I don't know, it's offbeat a little bit. He's got like main deck Energy Fluxes, kind of a nod to the meta. Some burn to kind of help things along, but really just hoping to very quickly stick a Demonic Hordes. He's got four Demonic Hordes.
I mean, all you need is a mana vault and a dark ritual, right?
That's exactly. living the dream, and then that's right. And then you don't even care what else happens, right? Because even if you can't pay the Demonic Hordes upkeep, you can still respond to its drawback trigger by destroying a land of your choice. But then, of course, you'll lose one of your own lands at the same time. So it's basically like a guaranteed nonstop. Sort of like a slow Armageddon, or almost like a mana vortex effect.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, like a creature mana vortex. So eventually, I guess maybe you could at least get some damage, and still, like, if you later draw the the ritual or something, like maybe you can still use them, right? Yeah, something like that. But yeah, one thing that also kind of did stick out to me, you mentioned the Energy Fluxes, but I think they go well in the deck anyway, just to like clear out all of the extra artifact mana that people have to kind of keep them off being able to cast spells under Nether Void, which is kind of cool. And it gives you just a way for you to get rid of your own mana vaults.
Yeah, attach mana vaults that you definitely won't be able to untap. I mean, you'll notice that he's not running his own Moxes. He really just has his only permanent artifact is actually a Soul Ring. Right? Because the rest are Lotuses, and the Chaos Orb is just a sorcery, basically, right? So,
wait, so he has them in his sideboard. I like it.
Yeah, you're right. 1, 2, 3. Okay,
that's
so
cool.
Sure.
So when you don't want Energy Flux, right? You might as well just.
You might as well. Exactly. That's really awesome. Sweet. And they can support, ramping out one of those glooms if the matchups, asks for it, or, I mean, there's nothing worse. I mean, I love control magic here, right? Because the opponent finally gets like a worthwhile creature on board, fighting through all of this nonsense, and then you can just snag it.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. Actually, and the other thing, it's sort of a minor thing, but you could see, let's see, with Paralyze's untap trigger, is there a way to put Paralyze on your own Demonic Hordes and give them an easier upkeep in a way? Could you stack their triggers so that like you don't pay the Hordes upkeep, and then they tap themselves and do their thing, and then Paralyze's upkeep thing triggers, and you can pay to untap them?
I think that is 100% true. Yeah.
Because that's a cool little like corner thing.
I mean, you can even so it gives you the option of you blow up a land with the first trigger on the stack, and then you can either attack by untapping him, or you can blow up another land by untapping him.
Right.
Yeah, which is very cool. Yeah, that even like might make me want to have one main deck just so I
Exactly. Yeah,
could
that's
tutor
what I was
for it.
just
Like, I mean, I
okay.
don't know how often that comes up, but that seems
Right,
like
right. Well, when I build this, I'll see if I can run one main deck. All I need are a couple nether voids, right?
right. Yeah, yeah. That's
And
probably
see how many
the.
demonic hordes I actually own. uh,
Those are
this is
much
a cool.
easier to acquire, though.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, that's it's a very cool deck. Definitely well thought out. Like I like the choices that were made, and just a lot of cool things happening. And yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One last thing I just noticed is the main deck or two main deck earthquakes.
Hmm.
I think shore up one of the weaknesses of a plan like this, which is the Savannah Lions and stuff that kind of like
Sure.
leak through early.
Hmm.
You can mop up a lot of those
Yeah.
with the earthquakes. You can cast earthquake for 1 or 2,
Yeah.
and really solve a lot of the problems that you tend to see. That's a vulnerability in this deck that he's shored up there.
Yeah. I've even noticed, like, having played against Nethervoid decks before, right? When you're on like a very low cost, low curve deck, it just does really become pretty easy to just, you know, I'll pay 4 mana for a Savannah
Yeah,
Lions.
right.
That's okay,
Exactly.
stuff like that. And it's similar to having to play against Gloom when you're playing the Savannah Lions deck, and you're just like, okay, sometimes you have to pay 4 mana for a card like that.
Yep. And it's still sometimes worth doing for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely see
impression.
having Earthquake to shore up those problems. Makes sense.
Yep. Cool. Sweet list.
Awesome.
Okay. Next up we have Mark Flore, who's another New England Old School member. This is he calls it Neviniral's Chaos Launcher. This is a sweet number. Also fully black bordered, which is pretty marvelous.
It is very nice.
And wow. So this is like a full-on Guardian Beast combo deck.
Yeah.
He's riding the beasts with these discs. He's leaning into or getting people to commit to the board ahead of the disc with the main deck Mazes of Ith. He has, let's see, he's got a couple transmutes to be able to pull up, your choice of Chaos or Rocket Launcher, Candelabra, Triskelion. Did I see a Tetravus just now? I think I lost it. Some more stuff out of the board. Taunus or what do you call it? Tormod's Crypt, Sitting in a Bottle, Force Field, Meekstone. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is would you call this? I mean, I don't know. It's semantics, but would you put this in the Project M type kind of beast combo control?
Yeah, definitely.
Boxy kind of archetype.
Yeah.
I just love a lot of the choices here and just the wide range of things that in the mirror universe, of course, I missed. It's a little tough to see with some of the deck photo scrambling, but I don't know, a lot of the just the powerful blue cards, and I also like that it's just 2-color.
Actually, on the deck photo scrambling, I usually don't like that just because it's aesthetically less appealing to look at, right? But this is actually a very good, very well done version of that because it actually has symmetry in the photo.
Yeah,
I know this is like totally unrelated to how spicy this deck is, but I'm appreciating, if you just look in every row, there is symmetry within the row, and it like makes sense why he put the card where he put it, sort of, Anyway, I was noticing that, and it's appreciated. It makes it visually appealing to look at for some reason.
Yeah, you can definitely still tell what's going on, right?
Right.
I noticed the Gentleman's Workshop also.
Yeah.
Let's be sensible about this, right? Yeah. What do you think about the Spell Blasts? I think that's he clearly has a ton of blue mana. He could easily play Counterspell if he chose. Do you think, obviously the longer the game goes, the better Spell Blast becomes. Because the chances of him having enough open mana, it's not that big a deal. Do you think, I don't know, what's your take on that?
My guess is that there's just very particular things that he's wanting to counter. And I guess, I don't know, maybe he feels like he would just have too many double blue cards, right? Because he's already playing Transmute, and he does have the mana drain in there, and Brain Geyser. So adding in, a bunch of other blue cards, maybe you can't quite support that. He has what, 12? I think it's 12.
I counted 11 blue. Oh no, wait, 12 with the Sapphire that's down at the bottom.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's not terrible, but it's also not great. And I feel like you just based on what you may draw, like it may just be that, it's what are you looking to counter? You're probably looking to counter swords on your Guardian Beast, or disenchant on your artifact. So I can see it working. But yeah, I could also see the argument for playing Counterspell. I mean, it's hard to know.
A deck like this is that like every game is going to be different, right? Depending on which of your toolbox pieces you see. Post board, like it's wide open as far as what you can tutor for. I mean, you notice he even supports energy fluxes out of the board, which I think, so many of these artifacts that he has are consumable, right? Like Triskellion's consumable, Launcher's consumable, obviously Chaos Orb again is more of a spell. The disc, you don't care about paying the flux upkeep. So all of these, there's so much that can happen. And I mean, I'm hoping that he at least got the Guardian Beast Chaos Orb like lock combo. Once or twice in the tournament, because that's just a sweet way of closing out a game. One of the alternate win cons in old school definitely is getting your opponent with 0 permanents on board and having them scoop.
For sure. Yeah, I was thinking a little bit more about the blue mana and the counterspell thing, and maybe one part of it is just you want to be able to have the counterspell up right after you've transmuted. And counterspell would mean you'd have to have 4 blue mana to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the spell blast kind of leaves you a little bit more flexible in that regard. I feel like this is a deck where I would want to watch the pilot play it to like know some of these intricacies, like why did they choose to put those spell blasts in, for instance. And I feel like there's probably a good reason, and I think it would just kind of come out as you watch the games unfold and how they play the game and that sort of thing. So
just a lot of this is making me want to play a deck like this again. I used to play these kind of grindy toolboxy, more control-y lists with transmutes and really loved that space. This is a pretty marvelous example. So excited to share this one.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
All right. Okay, the next one up. This is coming to us. You might recognize the layout. There's a very distinctive style here by the original old school MTG account on Instagram. This is Greg Titcomb, who's another New England old school member. And this is a workshops list. We saw plenty of shops, obviously, in the tournament.
Right.
This is by far the jankiest, and one that I got a kick out of. And I think I definitely played against Greg. I think in the first batch. So I loved seeing this. I also love how he unsleeves his cards in order to take the photos. He's very serious about the aesthetics. Always takes great stuff. And so many in the full play set of Alpha Birds of Paradise also.
Yeah, this is a very pretty deck, right?
On display, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, when when I was looking at the image, I thought to myself, this deck looks so vibrant, and I think that might have a lot to do with not having them sleeved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have any layers of plastic kind of muddling the view here.
Right.
So this is a hilarious like kind of workshop Concordant Crossroads Berserk mashup that is just trying to stick a fat creature very quickly and smash for hopefully like I don't know 10 or 20 or 24 damage.
Yeah.
Really quick. Crawworm, of course, can't be cast off of workshops, but you still have a bunch of other fast mana here with your birds, hopefully off Concordant Crossroads, and what else is going on here? The full set of power, obviously, and man, the Shade statues.
I feel like there should be a channel in here, but I don't see a channel.
I agree, right? He has let's see. He has plenty of green. What's that? 5, 9. Yeah, definitely enough green to support channel. I think that is one change that I would make in a hurry. Whenever channel is such a powerful Magic card, like it's kind of a funny paradox, right? Because if it were unrestricted, it would be everywhere. Like it would completely break the format in half.
Yeah.
But as a one of, it's so rarely seen because you need to have a deck that, obviously to use it, if you're wanting to use it early, you want like 14 or 15 or more green sources in your deck.
Right.
And if you're going to get good use out of it early, other than a fireball, you want to be playing things like Icy Manipulator and Triskelion and I don't know, Mirror Universe or something like that. So, but this is definitely one of those rare decks that can very sensibly support a channel. And I
love Jade Statue. I feel like one, it's a card I don't own, and I have never got around to getting them. But every once in a while, I'll be like, man, this deck could really use Jade Statue, and and then I don't have them, and then I'm kind of sad, but that's okay. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely a very cool 4-drop, right, to have, and kind of in lieu of Suchi, which maybe you don't want to play when there's mana burn, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the 3/6 body, when you activate that sucker, is very formidable. I love to see Jade Statue with sweepers like Wraths and stuff like that.
For sure.
But yeah, a very, very offbeat and fun 4-drop to use here off the workshops, for sure. This is a really funny deck.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
And then he can board in a ton more burn.
Yeah.
If he's looking for that, if he runs into mono black, he's got some dervishes. Avoid Fate, obviously, to protect his berserking guys if he's seeing, I don't know, like Swords to Plowshares and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
A cool list.
Yeah, definitely. I like it a lot.
All right. Next up. Okay, so this deck, man. This deck has the is the only one of the ones that we're going to spotlight that actually made top 16.
Yeah, that's right.
And did so in a very spicy way. I mean, I think this was like the darling of the tournament, to be honest, in terms of, when the top 16 list dropped, everyone was like, wow. Rock Hydra. Yep. We're in. So this is Daniel Anschutz's Hail Hydra. Daniel is he's a staple in the Discord community. He does altars that are really awesome, and he really wanted to play with Mana Flare. So you'll see all of his lands in the deck are mountains, to maximize the use of the gauntlets and the flares. And then from there on out, it's as much burn and Shivan dragons and rock hydras
Sure.
as you can kind of jam in there. This is a sweet list, and I was watching his round of 16 games actually, and he was basically in one of these games he was like on the ropes the entire time, was not looking good for him, and even though he ended up losing, his opponent was at like 20 life. The entire game, and even though he ended up losing, he was like one turn away from just slamming like a forked like fireball for lethal.
That's pretty awesome.
His opponent was like within an inch of his life at 20 life.
Yeah,
didn't even know it. So
great.
it's the kind of deck that can just kind of go off out of nowhere. And he's done a lot to to just kind of, to again, maximize those flare effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very cool deck. It looks really cool. Also, I don't know. There's just something about the artwork on these particular cards that I don't know, seems to lend. They lend to each other, kind of, right? Like they complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something very cool about it.
Yeah, no, it has like a very unified vibe. I mean, it is very red, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But you have a lot of those like kind of lightning and yellow and just kind of carrying through the art of all the different cards. Man, I can't talk enough about like how excited I was to see a deck like this in the top 16. Of the decks that ended up at X and 2, I think 6 of them made it in on breakers, and then 10 ended up missing. So this one made it in, and then there was actually a mono green aggro deck piloted by Evan Smith that was also X and 2 that missed. I think he was 19th on breakers. But of those decks that went 6 and 2, there were a couple pretty spicy numbers in there, and I was really, really happy when I saw that this one made it in.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen anyone cast a Rock Hydra in a game that I've been
I know,
part of. I've watched other people do it, so I've like seen it happen before, but I've never had to play against a Rock Hydra.
I mean, the novelty of this I really can't be understated. I think it's just not a card that is played. Like, you don't play it in singleton. Like, it's so hard to work with. But the shell for it is exactly this, right? Yeah,
definitely.
Mana vaults, it's mana flares, and it's gauntlets.
It can't have a better home, right?
This is how you do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again, Daniel, for your top 16 finish, and we were all pulling for you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next up, okay. Getting into some spicy stuff here. Again, this is Sean O'Gary's list, called Les Revenants. Sean is another known spicer in the New England scene, and this is kind of powered zombies, basically, is the easiest way of putting it. He's leaning into the zombie regeneration ability, which of course the Zombie Master grants with that play set of discs. Unfortunately, or I don't know, let's just disregard the non-bo here between disc and Bad Moon. Sure. But like, you can't have a bunch of zombies running around like mono black creatures basically without the Bad Moons. Yeah. Because I mean, I guess if things are going really well, you've got a couple zombies on board and your Zombie Master, like, drop your Bad Moons, right? Like, make them grow. Or post disc, drop your Bad Moon. And if you're off to a rockier start, maybe you lead off with the disc, and you can kind of just from reading the flow of the game and sequencing, you can kind of kind of feel that out. And then he's got a bunch of, obviously the Moxes, the blue power. He's got enough white in the deck for a couple swords, I think. Are those the only white 2 main, 2 board? Oh, and the disenchants out of the board too.
Yeah, there's disenchants as well. Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot of cool things going for it, and you don't get to see Zombie Master in play particularly often, and I think it's sort of unfortunate.
Well, if it gained +1 or even +0, or granted those to other zombies, you'd be off to the races with Zombie Master for sure. Zombie Master is 1 black for, is it a 2/3? It's kind of just, it has this funny like asymmetry with the Lord of Atlantis and the Goblin King. Although they have a funny asymmetry themselves, right? Lord of Atlantis costs blue, and Goblin King inexplicably costs 1 red, which is super.
Right. The one cool thing about this is that he does go along really well with Evil Presence.
Yes, I was just going to mention that too. You got Evil Presence here as virtual land destruction that has the synergy with the Swamp Walk ability. Zombie Master, which is very cool. And the Encyclopean Mummy errata to be a zombie,
Right.
which is a card that is very, very rarely seen.
Right.
Indeed. Anything else here? I love the Amy Weber paintings for the Disenchants.
For sure.
Those are marvelous. I love that he can support Flux and Hercules. Hercules, of course, with the disc combo. I also like the copies of the Drowned, the blue zombie there in the in the board, and a very cheeky Sulcanar also hiding in there, which he can support off of the Cities of Brass, at least in the red and blue boxes and the
he looks pretty easy to cast.
Yeah.
I really like this Hellfire. I think that's a card that doesn't get played all that often.
Yeah, I had Hellfire cast against me at MobsterCon, actually.
Nice.
Which in Team Unified, I guess you're looking for sweepers, you're looking for answers,
sure.
Especially in the mono black exclusive meta that we had in seat number C.
Right.
But that particular Hellfire, there's that was in Shaman Ben's deck from the Players Ball last year.
Yeah, looks like it.
It was in my possession for a time, and then I think it was a meetup at my house. Actually, Jason Dorman resolved a Hellfire against me in a real game. I mean, as real as it can be on my literal dining room table, right?
Sure.
And I immediately gave him a high five, and I said, "I've never resolved this card. You should just have it." So I gave him Shaman Ben's Hellfire. And cool. Now it's found its way to Sean, which I think is great and appropriate. Nice. If you are willing to wield that powerful dark magic, this thing will always find a home with you. So I'm glad that the saga continues of this particular piece of cardboard.
Very cool.
All right. Up next. Oh man. Okay, so this is Brian Limbacher. The deck's title is Eureka. It's a field of honey. And there is a lot to unpack here. I know you've done some thinking about this. Brian actually, I don't know Brian. I believe he, so this was his first derby for sure. I believe he's in like either Kentucky or like the Cincinnati area scene. But he was at least new player to me. Really excited that he joined the tournament and thrilled that he brought something like this, where the photo is literally in the shape of a drop.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, just on its own. And but yeah, there's just like a million things going on here, and they're all very cool.
So the sideboard has to be the cards on the outside of the drop, right? The Eurekas going down to Stang, and then the Shaven Dragons down to the Deep Spawns. Like those are, I counted 15 cards in that array, so I assume that's the sideboard, right? What else could it be?
Yeah, I think I mean that must be the case. That's my assumption as well. So which sort of makes sense, right? You're just kind of transforming into Eureka fatties, sure. Right. And but main deck, it's I actually, so one thing I really love in old school is playing like the combo of Sinbad and Sylvan Library, and Millstone is just almost a better version of that, because you can just like, you don't have a creature, you don't have to worry about like everyone just kills your Sinbad, right? It never sticks around, it never does exactly what you want it to. So having like that combination with Sylvan Library, or along with I'm forgetting the name of the 1 mana blue card, but Field
of Dreams.
Yeah, Field of Dreams. Thank you.
Yeah.
So like having either one of those, like helping you like fix your own draw steps, is very cool. And then also having, Drop of Honey in a deck where you basically don't have any little creatures is pretty cool, which you can't generally do if you're going to go down the Sinbad Sylvan Library route or whatever.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
Exactly.
So that's some cool stuff. I also love the one Taunos' Coffin for those
Trikes.
for those 2 trikes. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff happening.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand. Okay, all right, he's got main blood moons, right?
Yeah.
Off of like 3 islands, 4 forests. Okay, that checks out. He has literally 1 Serendib Efreet and 1 Urnum Jin main deck. And okay, Maze of Ith I get with Drop of Honey, right? That's definitely a combo. You get the opponent to commit into Maze. You bring down the drop. You have you've got the Field and Sylvan Library. Is that a combo? Field and Sylvan Library? No, I guess not, right?
Yeah, not really. Yeah, because you already know what it is, right? Yeah. So, but it's more just you're a Millstone deck at heart, right? And
yeah, definitely. It's a Field Millstone control deck that just happens to have a main deck Serendib Efreet. The Chaos Orb, it kind of looks like that kind of demon in Doom. You remember?
Yeah.
Play like old school Doom? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about this is the city in a bottle in the board. He can pull. That's right. He's got 3 City of Brass. Otherwise, he can pull like I guess the Urnum Jin and the Efreet and the drops. Well, what's he pulling to transform? Right, he's pulling the Fields, the drops, the Millstones. And just playing all these fat dudes.
Yeah, probably. And actually, it might be the Fields, the Millstones, the drops, and the Blood Moons. And then you're just all in on this Eureka plan instead, and that's the whole sideboard, right? Maybe you're leaving in one of those cards. I don't know. maybe a Blood Moon or something. That sort of makes sense. But
this is marvelous.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. It's cool to look at. Also, that's actually a cool interaction that I haven't thought about before. So, Taunos' Coffin with Staying is actually kind of cool.
Oh, sure. Yeah. He can respond to the Stang ETB trigger.
Yeah.
By coffining it. Yep. I hope that happened in the Derby.
Yeah.
Because that's why, I mean, stuff like that is why we play the format, and bringing decks like this to a tournament like the Summer Derby, it's because you want to see that kind of interaction, like in a tournament where people are, taking it seriously and they're live bullets and everyone's on, lions and dibs. And if you can pull off the Stang Coffin combo like once in the entire tournament, you walk away happy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like mission accomplished at that point.
Yeah. Totally. 100%. Yeah. I love this deck. This is super cool.
It is very cool. Yeah.
Nice job, Brian. All right. And finally, last but not least, and we should say that we did not order these decks at all in terms of like relative spiciness to each other. We just
they were just kind of ordered.
We just kind of skimmed off the ones that looked the best to us and kind of jumbled them up.
Yeah.
But Lord, we did save one for last. So this is Paul Fieros' list. It is called Slight Forests. It is a Sleight of Mind deck. Paul, known Spicer and Dread Pirate from the Knights Templar group, based out of Michigan. He's known for his Living Plane brew. But man, he brought a meatball to the ceremony this time around. This thing is nuts. And it, just plays. I mean, there's so many things that we can kind of tear through here. I mean, the thing that jumps out immediately is the full play set of Cop Green. I think, unless they're all Cop Greens, right? Yeah, because they all.
I think so. Yeah,
because they all combo with Force of Nature. Of course, you don't have to pay the upkeep for Force of Nature. You can just pay one colorless instead of green.
Right.
Also combos with the IFB for free.
Sure.
To a certain extent, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's just like a million things. So you've also got Sleight of Mind, which does like 5 things here, right, or something like that, right?
Yep.
Uh,
It makes your Northern Paladin into a killing machine for any color. It can change your cops into the opponent's color.
mhm.
It changes your main deck life force into green counter, whatever the most relevant color is to counter.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
Where
I also love Spirit Link
yeah,
in this too. Whether it's on Force of Nature or it's on If Bit for Free, like either one of those is really cool. And something I've never seen. I mean, I've seen Spirit Link cast before, but never in like this sort of a situation,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, right. I mean,
awesome.
and sometimes he can just like slam a Sarah Angel down, put the Spirit Link on that, and walk away unopposed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can just, if your opponent doesn't have the immediate answer. I mean, if they do, it's a 2-for-1, obviously, but if they don't, you just won the game. It's like it's an enormous swing. Have definitely seen that happen a lot. I love the Knights of Thorin in the board. I hope he was able to bring that in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing you can target with Slight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a Stang too. Also, I guess these last 2 decks both have Stangs out of the board.
I guess so, yeah.
I'm looking for a Stang synergy though. Does he have a Caracas hiding here somewhere? I'm not seeing it.
I don't see one, but yeah. I mean, sometimes you just need a Stang.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. He's also prepared with the main deck energy fluxes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got another one in the board. He can play these quickly off of his elves and his birds. What do you think about the Falling Stars?
I mean, personally, I actually like Falling Star quite a bit over stuff like Earthquake, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of in general, if your goal is to have a good way to stop, like, your White Weenie decks, that sort of thing. It doesn't damage you, right? I mean, so long as you feel like you're pretty good at flipping cards, right? Then it's a good choice. And if that's, I mean, I would say definitely here, his deck is not gonna have the easiest time against like just a slew of little creatures. So I imagine that's probably why they're in there. But other than that, I'm not seeing like a ton of synergy with that particular card, right? I feel like it's just sort of a necessity. You have to make it to the mid game at least, right?
Right.
In order
right.
to,
if you can get a quick 2-for-1 or even 3-for-1 against an aggressive weenie deck that's overcommitting, more powerful to you. Obviously, it's a super powerful card now with the errata across basically all the 93-94 formats. I think people are not yet totally woke to how strong this thing is now, because a lot of the traditional countermeasures to like Earthquake, for example, just run some flyers or
right.
Falling Star doesn't care about that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say it's not broken by any means, but it's definitely a very, very solid card to play with the new errata.
I mean, it's situationally, like just an amazing card. But sometimes dead also. So
that's also true. Well, one thing this is sort of a tangential thought, but I almost want a juxtapose in here. Oh,
I like that. To give them like a force of nature.
Force of nature, right?
If they can't, you could easily run a juxtapose.
Yeah, and then you have Cop Green anyway, right? So they can't damage you with him.
Yeah, totally.
Something like that.
I like that plan. Yeah, if you're running 3 Force of Nature, maybe you should throw a juxtapose in.
yeah. I'm actually surprised. Dom from the Beast now out in
New York,
he's been on juxtaposed decks for a little while. He brewed a whole bunch of them, and he also owns I think he either owns like a playset of beta or alpha Force of Natures that he complains he never has a deck to put them in. They should just go in there.
Yeah.
It seems like a great deck to play that card in, right?
100%.
Cool.
Yeah. This is, I mean, I kind of want to look up Paul's finish because this is a really sweet sweet little pile. I'm wondering, I'm like, I was just about to say when you were talking about the Dom and the kinds of cards that he likes, I'm like, yeah, well, if you're doing this a little bit more seriously, you can kind of go all in on like a Bant Force of Nature deck. But I'm like, actually, no, like Paul's tuned this pretty well, I think.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
This is in a way actually very serious.
Yeah, definitely.
There's nothing like cool. It's not like he's just kind of messing around. I mean, he is clearly messing around. But he's messing around like in a really thoughtful, like the kind that you want to, like this is the kind of brewing that like if you are really optimizing around the margins and really thinking about the synergies, this is really like the spirit of old school right here. I'm just quickly looking up. I don't even know. Probably should have done this beforehand. He did win a match.
That's good. That's good reporting.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a very cool deck. I don't know. Yeah, just tons of cool things going on here, and I appreciate. One thing to say about a lot of the decks that we've just looked at over the past 50 minutes or so, is that you're actually seeing a good amount of synergy in these decks, and intentionally trying to put certain cards together because they work well together. And I feel like that's something we don't get to see often enough in just kind of your run-of-the-mill old school deck, and it's very cool to see, and definitely something that I enjoy highlighting about the decks that people build, right? I mean, doing that is actually really hard to do in the old school world, and when you're able to pull this kind of thing off, and just even if you're not winning the tournament, but you're actually like making this actually happen, I think that's something to kind of be celebrated. So
yeah. Man, in giving these fringe cards any amount of time to shine, in a meta that's especially the top tables can be pretty homogenous. If you can break out with Rock Hydra, it's only upside, right? For playing with stuff like this. So so thanks everyone who obviously to everyone who participated in the Derby. It was a pleasure to organize. I hope everyone had a great time. To you Spicers, whose list we just highlighted, thank you. There were some spicy ones that we didn't get to. There are only so many that you can highlight, within the space of about an hour. But there were some other cool things happening as well. Looking forward to dropping the full slate of all the deck photos pretty soon. And thanks, Mike, for having me on and giving some time in the sun to some of these cool brews.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure.
Yep. All right. See ya.
Awesome. See ya.